Hi, this is Greg Muna, aka Master Moo, and this is the episode of this week's episode of Art is the Church of God the Creator, where we say that with a smile, but we say it because we mean it in whatever sense those words make any sense. Highly contested terms, the G word, the A word, even the C word, right? So, given those caveats, let's proceed. Today is our Walt Whitman birthday celebration. Happy birthday, Walt Whitman, born on this day, May 31st, in 1819. So, 207 years ago today. Yeah, in Huntington, Long Island, lived in Brooklyn, lived in Manhattan, product of Long Island, Brooklyn, Manhattan, ultimately New Jersey, retired to New Jersey. So a product of the, and a proud son of the tri-state area, son of Mannahatta, as he called it in his poetry. And today we are going to focus on his Calamus poems from the 1891-1892, the final edition, or the definitive edition of the Leaves of Grass. And this is a continuation of our reading and analysis of the children of Adam. So from our previous episodes, so you can go back and look at that. And the reason I read these in tandem and in sequence is that I believe that Whitman is going from general to specific, and the subject is eros, the erotic, and love. And in the Children of Adam, he focused on the heterosexuality, the love between men and women, and he used the Genesis image of Adam and Eve. So he used the mythological primordial man and woman as the archetype of heterosexual eros, and created a counter narrative, just as Milton did in although it's different from Milton, right? I'm speaking of Paradise Lost. In Whitman's counter narrative, Adam and Eve are not guilty of sin. Sin is not sexual. Sin is what begins later, after the expulsion of the Garden of Eden. So he's trying to put forward a sinless, or an idea of the human sexuality as primordially pure, and perhaps closer to the Eastern tantric concept, right? And then in I Sing the Body Electric, he updates that to the modern age, the electrical age, the industrial age, the age of modern industry, capital, democracy, and specifically to his own era, the new Eden, as he calls it, the America. He's creating a new model of eros for the new Eden of America. He's recreating a new model of sexuality for the post-Civil War Reconstruction period. So his basic argument is that sexuality itself is pure, and that we need to, and that he in his lifetime in the post-Civil War Reconstruction era needs to create a new concept of human sexuality for the new era, for democracy. And because his emphasis is on democracy, he's naturally starting with the largest majority of the universal experience of eroticism, which for most of humanity is heterosexual. So that is the general frame from our last reading from Children of Adam. And now in the Calamus cluster, he then makes it specific to himself, because in Whitman's vision of democracy, complete honesty and complete self-disclosure is necessary. For Whitman, democracy is the complete acceptance of every individual, starting with oneself. So one must have complete self-disclosure and encourage complete honesty and you must have complete self-acceptance in order to then continue on to full acceptance of all others in an actual democracy, as opposed to merely an electoral autocracy, which was what led to, in Whitman's view, and in my view as well, to slavery and to the Civil War and to the rise of predatory robber baron capitalism of the late 19th century, to which we have now regretfully reverted. We had a movement, we had a democratic movement in the early 20th century towards progressive taxation and towards more democratization of our industrial economy, which culminated in the New Deal, and FDR, and in the Great Society of LBJ, and that has been steadily eroded ever since then. Certainly since from the 1980s to now. Now we find ourselves, not only has the legacy, the social legacy of the Great Society been hollowed out, but the New Deal itself is being essentially reversed, and will soon be almost completely gutted. So we need to revive democracy. We need to revive Walt Whitman's vision, and in order to revive Walt Whitman's vision, we must honor his person. He was born today, in 1819, May 31st, and we honor him, the person, in his personal poetry of his personal love relationships, which he was, in modern language, a gay man, although he did not understand presentist images of sexuality. Nor would he have identified particularly as a gay person if he were living today, because he primarily identified as the bard of all Americans. So he emphasized commonality, not particularity. But these poems are particular. They're about his specific experience, and they had a very circuitous route of inclusion. And he initially dispersed these poems, and initially he did not want to. His editors did not want to include this because of the controversial nature, because of the taboo nature of the subject matter. And even in the final edition, it allows ambiguous readings, But we should read this, just as I said last time, that we should read the Children of Adam poems in relation to, in tandem with two things. I mentioned Milton's Paradise Lost, but also in terms of the positive vision of heterosexuality represented in the Shakespeare's procreation sonnets 1 through 17, right? And then now we're looking at the same-sex love sonnets, so we can think of the fair youth. We can read these in tandem with the fair youth sequence, 18 through 126, as opposed to the dark lady or the rival poet, Okay, so that being said, let's just jump right into it. I'll just read the title and go them in sequence. There are the Calamus poems. There are 39 poems, beginning with In Paths Untrodden and ending A Full of Life Now. Complete reading should take about an hour, and I'll try not to interrupt it with too much commentary. I think the imagery is self-sufficient. A calamus, of course, is a flower which has a vaguely phallic image, or that's how it appeared to, so we can think of that as an image of wholesome, natural phallism. So you can say this is a celebration of his personal emotional life as a gay man, and in terms of his again, in modern presentist language, his homosexuality. Okay. And but it begins in Paths Untrodden. He's acknowledging that he is going where no one else has gone before, both in terms of formal procedures, in terms of his free verse, and also in terms of his subject matter, that no one else had ever done this so explicitly, not even Shakespeare or Oscar Wilde or anyone. So, of course, Wilde was inspired by Whitman. And we know that. We know Wilde came to America simply to embrace Whitman, to receive that transmission. That transmission from Whitman to his students and onwards continued to my teacher, to Allen Ginsberg, and then from Ginsberg to me, in terms of reciting the poetry of Whitman. We recite it with one breath per line. As we are reciting one breath per line, we're paying attention to the sounds of the consonants, the vowels, the internal rhymes, so that we can feel the inner rhythms of the free verse, instead of looking for regular stanza forms, regular meters, regular rhymes. And we're feeling the energies of the consonants and the vowels, and relating that to the underlying emotional, psychological, and erotic expression underneath. Okay, so let's jump right into it. In paths untrodden, in the growth by margins of pond waters, escaped from the life that exhibits itself, from all the standards hitherto published, from the pleasures, profits, conformities, which too long I was offering to feed my soul, clear to me now, standards not yet published, clear to me that my soul, that the soul of the man I speak for, rejoices in comrades, here by taking away from the clank of the world, tallying and talk to hear by tongues aromatic, no longer abashed, for in this secluded spot I can respond as I would not dare elsewhere. Strong upon me the life that does not exhibit itself yet contains all the rest. Resolved to sing no songs today but those of manly attachment, projecting them along that substantial life, bequeathing hence types of athletic love. Afternoon, this delicious 9th month in my 41st year, I proceed for all who are or have been young men, to tell the secret of my nights and days, to celebrate the need of comrades. Okay, so he's calling upon the muse to sing his songs of manly attachment, of substantial love, of athletic love, and he's saying here in his 41st year, as opposed to the other poems, which are obviously he's began a bit earlier in his 30s. And he's clarifying his larger poetic project, and he's revealing his secrets. Again, comrade, a manly attachment, the love of comrades. For him, this is, of course, directly related to his battlefield experience and to his vision of creating a new model of masculinity based upon affection and love, as opposed to competition, which he considers necessary for the continuation of democracy. And this is the point that we need to take seriously. All right, Whitman is not arguing for gay equality. He's not arguing for gayness at all. He's arguing for male love, a universal image of male love, which for him takes a particular expression. And he's saying that this particular expression is essential for democracy and must be publicly celebrated for democracy, not merely tolerated in the modern sort of, June gay pride. Now, today's May 31st, today's his birthday, tomorrow's the beginning of Gay Pride Month, so we should counterpose Whitman's vision, Whitman's celebration of what we would call gayness with sort of the modern post-Stonewall celebration of minority equal rights. He's not proposing equal rights for minority. He's proposing a universal celebration of love between men, which in his case takes the form of sexual expression. Okay, next poem, Scented Herbage of My Breast. Scented herbage of my breast, Leaves from you I glean, I write to be perused best afterwards. Tomb leaves, body leaves, growing up above me, above death. Perennial roots, tall leaves. Oh, the winter shall not freeze you, delicate leaves. Every year shall you bloom again. Out from where you retired, you shall emerge again. Oh, I do not know whether many passing will discover you or inhale your faint odor, but I believe a few will. O slender leaves, O blossoms of my blood, I permit you to tell in your own way of the heart that is under you. Oh, I do not know what you mean there underneath yourselves. You are not happiness. You are often more bitter than I can bear. You burn and sting me, yet you are beautiful to me. Faint tinged roots, you make me think of death. Death is beautiful from you. What indeed is finally beautiful except death and love? Oh, I think it is not for life I am chanting here my chant of lovers. I think it must be for death. Or how calm, how solemn it grows to ascend to the atmosphere of lovers. Death or life, I am then indifferent, my soul declines to prefer. I am not sure, but the high soul of lovers welcomes death most. Indeed, O death, I think now these leaves mean precisely the same as you mean. Grow up taller, sweet leaves, that I may see. Grow up out of my breast. Spring away from the concealed heart there. Do not fold yourself so in your pink-tinged roots, timid leaves. Do not remain down there so ashamed, herbage of my breast. Come, I am not determined to unbear this broad breast of mine. I have long enough stifled and choked. Emblematic and capricious blades, I leave you. Now you serve me not. I will say what I have to say by itself. I will sound myself and comrades only. I will never again utter a call, only their call. I will raise with it immortal reverberations through the states. I will give an example to lovers to take permanent shape, and will, through the states, through me shall the words be said to make death exhilarating. Give me your tone, therefore, O death, that I may accord with it. Give me yourself, for I see that you belong to me now above all, and are folded inseparably together. You, love, and death are, nor will I allow you to balk me any more with what I was calling life, for now it is conveyed to me that you are the purports essential, that you hide in these shifting forms of life for reasons, and that they are mainly for you, that you beyond them come forth to remain the real reality, that behind the mask of materials you patiently wait no matter how long, that you will one day perhaps take control of all, that you will perhaps dissipate this entire show of appearance, that maybe you are what it is all for, but it does not last so very long. But you will last very long. A couple of quick comments about the second poem. Here he introduces, the first poem was the I am resolved. He introduces the reader, you. He addresses you directly, and the way, so, and I want to make a quick connection to the poetic practice of Wallace Stevens, when he meditates on death, when he says, death is beautiful from you. You know, when Whitman says this, we can relate this to Wallace Stevens in Sunday morning. Death is the mother of beauty, right? And so he contemplates death. He includes the reader in, he addresses the reader specifically as the lover, as you, and he makes it specifically connected to his democratic project when he says, I will raise it with immortal reverberations through the states. I will give an example to lovers to take permanent shape and will throughout the states. So Walt Whitman here in this poem is giving a political agenda for the United States in the post-Civil War Reconstruction and post-Reconstruction era for the celebration of love between men. He says, even though it is only for a few, not for the majority. So, all right, so the next poem, Calamus, for whoever you are holding me now in hand. Now he continues his address to his subset of readers, knowing that the readers reading this are going to be smaller than the larger than the totality, that he's addressing a specific sexual minority here. Okay. Whoever you are holding me now in hand, without one thing all will be useless. I give you fair warning before you attempt me further. I am not what you suppose, but far different. Who is he that would become my follower? Who would sign himself a candidate for my affections? The way is suspicious, the result uncertain, perhaps destructive. You would have to give up all else. I alone would expect to be your sole and exclusive standard. Your novitiate would even then be long and exhausting. The whole past theory of your life and all conformity to the lives around you would have to be abandoned. Therefore, release me now, before troubling yourself any further. Let go your hand from my shoulders. Put me down and depart on your way, or else by stealth in some wood for trial, or back of a rock in the open air, or in any roofed room of a house I emerge not, nor in company, and in libraries I lie as one dumb, a gawk, or unborn, or dead, but just possibly with you on a high hill, first watching lest any person for miles around approach unawares, or possibly with you sailing at sea, or on the beach, or of the sea, or of some quiet island, here to put your lips upon mine. I permit you, with the comrade's long-dwelling kiss, or the new husband's kiss, for I am the new husband, and I am the comrade. Or if you will, thrusting me beneath your clothing, where I may feel the throbs of your heart, or rest upon your hip, carry me when you go forth over land or sea, for thus merely touching you is enough, is best, and thus touching you would I silently sleep and be carried eternally. But these leaves conning you, con at peril, for these leaves and me you will not understand. They will elude you at first, and still more afterward. I will certainly elude you, and while you should think you had unquestionably caught me, behold, already you see I have escaped from you. For it is not what I have put into it that I have written this book, nor is it by reading it you will acquire it, nor do those who know me best, who admire me and vauntingly praise me, nor will the candidates for my love, unless it most very few prove victorious, nor will my poems do good only, they will do just as much evil, perhaps more, for all is useless without that which you may guess at many times and not hit, that which I hinted at. Therefore, release me and depart me on your way. So this is the classic sort of tantric warning of the master to the student, abandon, do not go forward unless you're willing to, continue all the way here. And, so again, he's setting himself up as a kind of as a teacher, as an erotic teacher, and he's making his book, he's saying that after his death, he will live on in his form of his leaves, meaning his book, and that his book, the person reading the book, holding the book, is holding him as a lover. So he's making the erotic comparison of his disembodied form in his poetry, and he's identifying his physical self with the physical form of his poems in his book. Okay, so that was the warning, and now is the connection to his democratic project. For you, O democracy. Come, I will make the continent indissoluble. I will make the most splendid race the sun ever shone upon. I will make divine magnetic lands with the love of comrades, with the lifelong love of comrades. I will plant companionship thick as trees along all the rivers of America, along the shores of the Great Lakes, and all over the prairies. I will make inseparable cities with their arms about each other's necks, by the love of comrades, by the manly love of comrades. For you, these from me, O democracy, to serve you, ma femme. For you, I am trilling these songs. Okay, so this has a more recognizable stanzaic form, in terms of tercids, repetitions, refrains, and with the love of comrades, with the lifelong of comrades, so with kind of heroic couplets, and repetitions. And here, democracy, ma fama, is the symbolic wife, that by what he's saying is that the men who love each other in a democracy are symbolically married not to each other, but actually to democracy, are priests of democracy, and about making the continent indissoluble, meaning no longer subject to civil war. And again, this is what Whitman is saying about the hidden meaning of the poems here, that he's not simply talking about sex, he is talking about the function of the individual erotic drive within the larger social context of democracy, and how we have a moral responsibility to put our love lives in the service of greater societal good. And he's coming up with a model for that for the non-reproductive here, for gay men, as opposed to obviously for procreation, the children of Adam, for the continuation of the species. So here he's saying it's not the continuation of the species, it is the continuation and the flourishing of democracy that is the role of same-sex love, or non-reproductive, non-procreative love here. Okay. Let's continue to the next poem. These I singing in spring. These I singing in spring collect for lovers, for who but I should understand lovers and all their sorrow and joy, and who but I should be the poet of comrades. Collecting I traverse the garden of the world, but soon I pass the gates, now along the pond side, now waiting in a little, fearing not the wet, now by the post and rail fences where the old stones thrown there, picked from the fields, have accumulated. Wild flowers and vines and weeds come up through the stones and partly cover them. Beyond these I pass, far, far in the forest, or sauntering later in the summer before I think where I must go. Solitary, smelling the earthy smell, stopping now and then in the silence. Alone I had thought, yet soon a troop gathers around me. Some walk by my side and some behind, and some embrace my arms or neck. They, the spirits of dear friends dead or alive, thicker they come, a great crowd, and I in the middle, collecting, dispensing, singing, there I wander with them, plucking something for tokens, tossing toward whoever is near me. Here, lilac with a branch of pine. Here, out of my pocket, some moss which I pulled off a live oak in Florida as it hung trailing down. Here, some pinks and laurel leaves and a handful of sage. And here, what I now draw from the water, wading in the pond side. Oh, here I last saw him that tenderly loves me, and returns again, never to separate from me. And this, oh, this shall henceforth be the token of comrades. This calamus root shall interchange it youths with each other. Let none render it back. And twigs of maple, and a bunch of wild orange and chestnut, and stems of currant and plum blows, and the aromatic cedar, these I compassed around by a thick cloud of spirits, wandering point or touch as I pass, or throw them loosely from me, indicating to each one what he shall have, giving something to each. But what I drew from the water by the pond side that I reserve, I will give of it, but only to them that love as I myself am capable of loving. Okay, so here Whitman uses the natural metaphor of the calamus, of the phallic image, as an example of natural and beneficial sexuality here, male phallism, sexuality, but he's saying, but only to them that love as I may say are capable of loving. So he's acknowledging the specificity and the limitations of his own erotic nature. Okay. And while validating it, valorizing it with natural imagery. Okay, the next poem, Not Heaving from My Breast Only. Oh, we're having a little technical problem here. just reloading the text. Pardon me, I'm having a technical issue with accessing the text. Let me try to reload the my online edition of. We're reading from the Walt Whitman archive from the 1891 edition of Leaves of Grass, and let me try opening it up in a different browser. Perhaps we're having a browser issue here, and we're typing in Whitman, Calamus Cluster, 1891. Okay, and okay, all right. So we've reconnected here. All right, and so just to recap, we just finished reading the spring poem "These Eyes Singing in Spring." The image of the calamus and the natural imagery. And now we're moving on to the next poem, Not Heaving from My Ribbed Breast Only. Okay, there was a brief technical interruption, but we're okay with that. Not heaving from my ribbed breast only, not in sighs at night enraged dissatisfied with myself, not in those long-drawn ill-suppressed sighs, not in many an oath and promise broken, not in my willful savage soul's volition, not in the subtle nourishment of the air, not in this beating and pounding at my temples and wrists, not in the curious systole and diastole within which one day cease, not in many a hungry wish told to the skies only, not in cries, laughter, defiance is thrown from me when alone far in the wilds, not in husky pantings through clenched teeth, not in sounded, resounded words, chattering words, echoes, dead words, not in the murmurs of dreams while I sleep, nor in the other murmurs of these incredible dreams of every day, nor in the limbs and senses of my body that take you and dismiss you continually, not there, not in any or all of them. O adhesiveness, O pulse of life, need I that you exist and show yourself any more than in these songs. His key word here is adhesiveness. This is like pre-Socratic philosophy. He's saying that the principle of same-sex love, of like attracted to like, is adhesiveness, is this sort of pre-organic level of affinity for matter with matter. And but he's also acknowledging his internalized, his negativity and the social opprobrium which he has to overcome in order to express himself. Okay, next poem, Of the Terrible Doubt of Appearances. And again here, in these poems here, Whitman is talking about overcoming his internalized sexism, his internalized homophobia, and his just general self-doubting belonging to a minority, a disempowered minority sexually. Okay. Of the terrible doubt of appearances, of the uncertainty after all, that we may be deluded, that may be reliance and hope but speculations after all, that may be identity beyond the grave is a beautiful fable only, may be the things I perceive, the animals, plants, men, hills, shining and flowering waters, the skies of day and night, colors, densities, forms, maybe these are, as doubtless they are, only apparitions, and the real something has yet to be known. How often they dart out of themselves as if to confound me and mock me. How often I think neither I know nor any man knows aught of them, may be seeming to me what they are, as doubtless they indeed but seem, as from my present point of view, and might prove, as of course they would, naught of what they appear, nor naught anyhow from entirely changed points of view. To me these and the like are curiously answered by my lovers, my dear friends. When he whom I love travels with me, or sits a long while holding me by the hand, when the subtle air, the impalpable, the sense that words and reason hold not, surround us and pervade us, then I am charged with untold and untellable wisdom. I am silent. I require nothing further. I cannot answer the questions of appearance or that of identity beyond the grave, but I walk or sit indifferent. I am satisfied. He, a hold of my hand, has completely satisfied me. Okay, so in this poem, Whitman is introducing internalized overthinking versus just checking in with the wisdom of the body through the presence of the other, of the lover. And he continues this, and the language reflects that. And in the next poem, he continues this sort of philosophical, metaphysical speculation in the base of all metaphysics. The base of all metaphysics. And now, gentlemen, a word I give to remain in your memories and minds, as base and finale, too, for all metaphysics. So to the students, the old professor, at the close of this crowded course, having studied the new and antique, the Greek and Germanic systems, Kant, having studied and stated Fichte and Schelling and Hegel, and stated the lore of Plato and Socrates, greater than Plato, and greater than Socrates sought and stated, Christ divine having studied long. I see reminiscent today those Greek and Germanic systems, see the philosophies all, Christian churches and tenets see, yet underneath Socrates clearly see, and underneath Christ the divine I see, the dear love of man for his comrade, the attraction of friend to friend, of the well-married husband and wife, of children and parents, of city for city, and land for land. Okay, so Whitman is fearlessly proclaiming the male love, homoeroticism, as a fundamental reality informing the philosophical philosophies of the Greeks and Christians, of Socrates and of Christ. And that may be acceptable or unacceptable to you, but he is asserting it. I think it's quite amazing. And let's move on. The next poem, Recorders Ages Hence. You can imagine, if anyone understood what he was saying, how controversial it would have been. Recorders ages hence. Recorders ages hence, come, I will take you down underneath this impassive exterior. I will tell you what to say of me. Publish my name and hang up my picture as that of the tenderest lover, the friend, the lover's portrait, of whom his friend, his lover, was fondest, who was not proud of his songs, but of the measureless ocean of love within him, and freely poured it forth, who often walked lonesome walks, thinking of his dear friends, his lovers, who pensive away from one he loved often lay sleepless and dissatisfied at night, who knew too well the sick dread lest one he loved, lest the one he loved might secretly be indifferent to him, whose happiest days were far away through fields and woods, on hills he and another, and wandering hand in hand, they twain apart from other men, who oft as he sauntered the streets curved with his arm the shoulder of his friend, while the arm of his friend rested upon him also. Next, when I have heard at the close of day. When I heard at the close of day how my name had been received with plaudits at the Capitol, still it was not a happy night for me that followed. And else when I caroused, or when my plans were accomplished, still I was not happy. But the day when I rose at dawn from the bed of perfect health, refreshed, singing and hailing the pipe beneath of autumn, when I saw the full moon in the west grow pale and disappear in the morning light, and when I wandered alone over the beach and undressing bathed, laughing with cool waters, and saw the sunrise, and when I thought how my dear friend, my lover, was on his way coming, oh then I was happy. Oh then each breath tasted sweeter, And all that day my food nourished me more, and the beautiful day passed well, and the next came with equal joy, and with the next at evening came my friend. And that night, while all was still, I heard the waters roll slowly, continually up the shores. I heard the hissing rustle of the liquid and sands as directed to me, whispering to congratulate me. For the one I love most lay sleeping by me under the same cover in the cool night. In the stillness and the autumn moonbeams, his face was inclined toward me, and his arm lay lightly around my breast. And that night I was happy. Okay, so in this poem, Whitman is acknowledging his expanding fame towards the end of his life, and he's imagining himself being honored in Washington, D.C. There should be Whitman Day. Today is our Whitman Day. Today we are celebrating his birth. May 31st should be a national holiday. It should be Walt Whitman Day. Everyone should read Walt Whitman's poetry, and especially on his birthday, and especially today, May 31st, we should read his Calamus poems as an envoi, as an entree into Gay Pride Month, and to understand his vision of sexuality in a real democracy, in an actual democracy, not in an electoral autocracy. Next poem, Are You the New Person Drawn Towards Me? And in this poem, he again addresses the reader as the lover. Are you the new person drawn toward me? To begin would take warning. I am surely far different from what you suppose. Do you suppose you will find in me your ideal? Do you think it's so easy to have me become your lover? Do you think the friendship of me would be unalloyed satisfaction? Do you think I am trusty and faithful? Do you see no further than this facade, this smooth and tolerant manner of me? Do you suppose yourself advancing on real ground toward a real heroic man? Have no thought, O dreamer, that it may be all Maya, illusion. Okay, so he's using the terminology of Buddhism, Maya, which no doubt Whitman received from the Transcendentalists, particularly from Emerson, and then from the Germans, from Schopenhauer and so on. And he mentioned in his previous poem his study of Kant, Fichte, Hegel, and so on and so forth. In the base of all metaphysics, whether or not he was including Kant in his list of gay heroes, I don't know. But he certainly was including Socrates and Christ, yes. Okay, next poem, Roots and Leaves Themselves Alone. Going back to the nature metaphor of the calamus flower, right? Roots and leaves themselves alone are these scents brought to men and women from wild woods and ponds side, breast, sorrel, and pinks of love, fingers that wind around tighter than vines, gushes from the throats of birds hid in the foliage of trees as the sun is risen, breezes of land and love set from living shores to you on the living sea. To you, O sailors, frost-mellowed berries and third-month twigs offered fresh to young persons wandering out in the fields when the winter breaks up. Love buds put before you and within you, whoever you are, buds to be unfolded on the old terms. If you bring the warmth of the sun to them, they will open and bring form, color, perfume to you. If you become the aliment and the wet, they will become flowers, fruits, tall branches, and trees. The next poem, Not flames up and no heat flames up and consumes. No, not heat flames up and consumes, not sea waves hurry in and out, not the air delicious and dry, the air of ripe summer bears lightly upon white down balls of myriads of seeds, wafted, sailing gracefully to drop where they may. Not these, oh, none of these more than the flames of me, consuming, burning for his love whom I love. Oh, none more than I, hurrying in and out. Does the tide hurry, seeking something, and never give up? Oh, I the same. Oh, nor down balls, nor perfumes, nor the high rain-emitting clouds are born through the open air, any more than my soul is born through the open air. Wafted in all directions, oh love, for friendship, for you. The next poem, Trickle Drops. Trickle drops, my blue veins leaving, oh drops of me, trickles, slow drops, candid from me falling, drip, bleeding drops, from wounds made to free you whence you were prisoned, from my face, from my forehead and lips, from my breast, From within where I was concealed, press forth red drops, confession drops, stain every page, stain every song I sing, every word I say, bloody drops. Let them know your scarlet heat, let them glisten, saturate them with yourself, all ashamed and wet. Glow upon all I have written or shall write, bleeding drops, let it all be seen in your light, blushing drops. So in this poem he uses the metaphor of his blood again to emphasize the unity of his living self, his physical self, with his poetry and communicating his physicality through his blood, his bodily fluids to these readers, and making that erotic connection through his written work. Next poem, City of Orgies, and of course for him, as a lifelong New Yorker, this is New York City. City of orgies, walks and joys, city whom I have lived and sung in your midst will one day make you illustrious. Not the pageants of you, not your shifting tableaus, your spectacles repay me, not the interminable rows of your houses, nor the ships at the wharves, nor the processions in the streets, nor the bright windows with goods in them, nor to converse with learned persons, or bear my share in the soiree or feast. Not those. But as I pass, O Manhattan, your frequent and swift flash of eyes offering me love, offering response to my own, these repay me. Lovers, continual lovers, only repay me. Okay, so that may or may not be relevant to your experience. He continues with this theme of promiscuity, of urban promiscuity, and behold this swarthy face. Behold this swarthy face, these gray eyes, this beard, the white wool unclipped upon my neck, my brown hands, and the silent manner of me without charm. Yet comes one, a Manhattanese, at ever and ever at parting, kisses me lightly on the lips with robust love, and I, on the crossing of the street or on the ship's deck, give a kiss in return. We observe that salute of American comrades, land and sea. We are those two natural and nonchalant persons. Okay, well, a good poem for Gay Pride Month in New York. Next poem. I saw in Louisiana a live oak growing. I saw in Louisiana a live oak growing. All alone it stood, and the moss hung down from the branches. Without any companion it grew there, uttering joyous leaves of dark green. And its look, rude, unbending, lusty, made me think of myself. But I wondered how it could utter joyous leaves standing alone, there without its friend near, for I knew I could not, and I broke off a twig with a certain number of leaves upon it, and twined around it a little moss, and brought it away, and I have placed it in sight in my room, for it is not needed to remind me as of my own dear friends. For I believe lately I think of little else than of them. Yet it remains for me a curious token. It makes me think of manly love, for all that. And though the live oak glistens there in Louisiana, solitary in a wide, flat space, uttering joyous leaves all its life, without a friend or lover near, I know very well I could not. So here he contrasts the solitary life of the Louisiana oak with his unsolitary life of companionship, his social erotic life. And of course, I think we should read this in tandem with Wallace Stevens's the anecdote of the jar. I placed a jar in Tennessee, and of course in Wallace Stevens it's a more philosophical meditation on sort of relativity and subject and object of perception, right? Placing the jar in Tennessee. But here, I'm sure Stevens must have been inspired by the philosophical, sort of the metaphysical metaphor established here by Whitman in this poem. Okay, next poem, To a Stranger, again addressing the reader. To a stranger, passing stranger, you do not know how longingly I look upon you. You must be he I was seeking, or she I was seeking. It comes to me as of a dream. I have somewhere surely lived a life of joy with you. All is recalled as we flit by each other, fluid, affectionate, chaste, matured. You grew up with me, were a boy with me, or a girl with me. I ate with you and slept with you. Your body has become not yours, nor only left my body, mine only. You give me the pleasure of your eyes, face, flesh as we pass. You take of my beard breast hands in return. I am not to speak to you. I am to think of you when I sit alone or wake at night alone. I am to wait. I do not doubt that I am to meet you again. I am to see to it that I do not lose you. Here in this poem, the Whitman expands his erotic vision to a bisexual identification, and make of that what you will. Next poem, This Moment Yearning and Thoughtful. This moment yearning and thoughtful, sitting alone, it seems to me there are other men and other lands yearning and thoughtful. It seems to me I can look over and behold them in Germany, Italy, France, Spain, or far, far away in China or in Russia or Japan, talking other dialects. And it seems to me, if I could know those men, I should become attached to them as I do to men in my own lands. Oh, I know we should be brethren and lovers. I know I should be happy with them. Okay, so in this poem, Whitman is expanding his vision of this mystical gay male eroticism as a foundation of democracy to a global vision of democracy, and through this same-sex erotic principle, including all other countries. And so he's moving beyond nationalism to internationalism to a universal cosmopolitan erotic vision. And this inspired, of course, men in other countries. I mean, this inspired the English cult of Walt Whitman, and this inspired people like Oscar Wilde to make pilgrimages to America to visit Walt Whitman and so on. And yeah, so he's reaching not only over time, but also over space. And that's really quite visionary. Next poem, I hear it was charged against me. And here he's understanding the institutional pushback to his vision. I hear it was charged against me that I sought to destroy institutions, but really I am neither for nor against institutions. What indeed have I in common with them, or what with the destruction of them? Only I will establish in the Mannahatta and in every city of these states, inland and seaboard, and in the fields and woods, and above every keel, little or large, that dents the water, without edifices or rules or trustees or any arguments, the institution of the dear love of comrades. So he's establishing himself as a foundational guru of comrade love, as opposed to, I think he means adult, mature male comrade love, as opposed to intergenerational, like ancient Greek pederasty or anything like that. It seems pretty clear that that's what he's talking about. But he's establishing himself as a foundational guru figure. Next poem, The Prairie Grass Dividing. The prairie grass dividing, its special odor breathing, I demand of it the spiritual corresponding. Demand the most copious and close companionship of men. Demand the blades to rise of words, acts, beings, those of the open atmosphere, coarse, sunlit, fresh, nutritious, those that go their own gait, erect, stepping with freedom and command, leading, not following, those with a never-quelled audacity, those with sweet and lusty flesh clear of taint, those that look carelessly in the faces of presidents and governors as to say, "Who are you?" Those of earth-born passion, simple, never constrained, never obedient, those of inland America. So here in this poem, he was contrasting his coastal mission of his cities to the inland prairie, extending that. All right. Next, When I Peruse the Conquered Fame. When I peruse the conquered fame of heroes and the victories of mighty generals, I do not envy the generals, nor the president in his presidency, nor the rich in his great house. But when I hear of the brotherhood of lovers, how it was with them, how together through life, through dangers, odium unchanging, long and long, through youth and through middle and old age, how unfaltering, how affectionate and faithful they were, then I am pensive, and hastily walk away filled with the bitterest envy. Yeah. So he's thinking historically, in terms of classical antiquity, also, and he's thinking contemporaneously in terms of his experience in the Civil War. Right. One of his more famous lyrics, "We two boys together clinging," a very personal poem. We two boys together clinging, on the other never leaving, up and down the roads going, north and south excursions making, power enjoying, elbows stretching, fingers clutching, armed and fearless, eating, drinking, sleeping, loving, no law less than ourselves owning, sailing, soldiering, thieving, threatening, misers, menials, priests alarming, air breathing, water drinking, on the turf or the sea beach dancing, cities wrenching, east scorning, statutes mocking, feebleness chasing, fulfilling our foray. So he creates a beautiful, simple, rhythmic, poetic form here by the repetition of the gerunds, clinging, leaving, making, and then through he creates a kind of a closing volta with the alliteration fulfilling our foray, repeating the gerund and the so very nice, very nicely formed little poem, right? And a very sweet expression. Next poem, A Promise to California. And California being, of course, the new horizon of that period, representing the next phase beyond manifest destiny, going beyond to the Pacific and then beyond the Pacific to the rest of the world, right? A promise to California, or inland to the great pastoral plains, and on to Puget Sound in Oregon, sojourning east a while longer, soon I travel you to remain to teach robust American love. For I know very well that I and robust love belong among you inland and along the western sea. For these states tend inland and toward the western sea, and I will also. So he's identifying himself and his teaching with sort of the westward expansion and manifest destiny, but in this democratic sense. Okay, next poem. Here the frailest leaves of me. And this is just a fragment, just a chair set, almost haiku-like. Here the frailest leaves of me, and yet my strongest lasting. Here I shade and hide my thoughts, I myself do not expose them, and yet they expose me more than all my other poems. So this little chair set is saying, he's at his most self-exposed here, yeah, and even though at his most obscure as far as the general public would be concerned. Okay. His next poem, No Labor-Saving Machine. And again, he's positioning his poetic work in relation to industrial work in the industrialized post-Civil War economy. No labor-saving machine nor discovery have I made, nor will I be able to leave behind me any wealthy bequest to found a hospital or library, nor reminiscence of any deed of courage for America, nor literary success, nor intellect, nor a book for the bookshelf, but a few carols vibrating through the air I leave for comrades and lovers. Okay, a glimpse, another short lyric. A glimpse through an interstice sought of a crowd of workmen and drivers in a barroom around the stove late in a winter night, and I remark, seated in a corner, of a youth who loves me and whom I love, silently approaching and seating himself near, that he may hold me by the hand, a long while amid the noises of the coming and going, of drinking and oath and smutty jest. There we two, content, happy in being together, speaking little, perhaps not a word. The next poem, A Leaf for Hand in Hand. A leaf for hand in hand, you natural persons old and young, you on the Mississippi and all in the branches and bayous of the Mississippi, you friendly boatmen and mechanics, you roughs, you twain, and all processions moving along the streets, I wish to infuse myself among you till I see a common for you to walk hand in hand. Okay, so this is Whitman's encouragement to ordinary gay men, saying that they are natural persons. He's affirming the naturalness of his same-sex sex drive, and he wants this, until I see it common for you to walk hand in hand. And, just a simple expression of affection, which still, 150 years later, is very rare in these United States. And why is it? It's because Whitman would understand that we are still in the grips of a competitive war against all when it comes to our cultural articulation of masculinity and manhood. And it is destroying our democracy and destroying our planet. Which connects to the next poem, Earth, My Likeness. Here he connects the personal to the planetary. Earth, my likeness, though you look so impassive, ample, and spheric there, I now suspect that is not all. I now suspect there is something fierce in you eligible to burst forth. For an athlete is enamored of me and I of him, but toward him there is something fierce and terrible in me eligible to burst forth. I dare not tell it in words, not even in these songs. So, the love that dare not speak its name, right? The next poem, I dreamed in a dream. I dreamed in a dream I saw a city invincible to the attacks of the whole of the rest of the earth. I dreamed that was the new city of friends. Nothing was greater there than the quality of robust love. It led the rest. It was seen every hour in the actions of men of that city, in all their looks and words. Perhaps Whitman is referencing the famous Greek army of lovers, right? Of the so-called the 300, right? What think you, in his idea of comrade love, of adhesiveness, what think you I take my pen in hand? Next poem. What think you I take my pen in hand to record the battleship, perfect modeled, majestic, that I saw pass the offing today under full sail, the splendors of the past day, or the splendor of the night that envelops me, or the vaunted glory and growth of the great city spread around me? No, but merely of two simple men I saw today on the pier in the midst of the crowd, the parting of dear friends. The one to remain hung on the other's neck and passionately kissed him, while the other one to depart tightly pressed the one to remain in his arms. Next poem, To the East and to the West. Again, geographic, addressing the United States. To the east and to the west, to the man of the seaside state and of Pennsylvania, to the Canadian of the north, the southerner I love. These with perfect trust to depict you as myself, the germs are in all men. I believe the main purport of these states is to found a superb friendship, exalté, previously unknown, because I perceive it waits. It has always been waiting, latent in all men. Okay, so again, here he's saying that there is a unique mission of post-Civil War America to create a new model of positive, affirmative male sexuality and male sexual affection and romantic affection, not merely sexual. And it's always, Whitman's eros is always romantic and interpersonal, never purely physical. Sometimes with one I love, sometimes with one I love, I myself with rage, sometimes with one I love, I fill myself with rage for fear I effuse unreturned love. But now I think there is no unreturned love. The pay is certain one way or another. I loved a certain person ardently, and my love was not returned, yet out of that I have written these songs. So this is very close in feeling to some of the fair youth sonnets of Shakespeare, in which Shakespeare expresses his despair over his the unrequited nature of his love. The next poem, To a Western Boy. To a Western boy, many things to absorb I teach to help you become élève of mine. Yet if blood like mine circle not in your veins, if you be not silently selected by lovers and do not silently select lovers, of what use is it that you seek to become élève of mine? So élève, disciple, or a pupil in the ancient Greek sense. Here he's saying that it has to continue. He's saying that anyone that he becomes lovers with must continue this loving to others, and must continue, must be the beginning, a propagation of love going forward. And this was communicated to me by Ginsberg, who, from his teachers, and who traced all the way back to Whitman himself. So I'm trying to communicate that love from Whitman from my teachers to me to you. Next poem, Fast Anchored, Eternal, O Love. Fast anchored, eternal, O love, O woman I love, O bride, O wife, more resistless than I can tell the thought of you, than separate as disembodied or another born, ethereal, the last athletic reality of my consolation, I ascend, I float in the regions of your love, O man, O sharer of my roving life. Again, there's a kind of, you might say, a kind of a bisexual confusion in this poem, or perhaps a pansexual identification. Among the multitude, among the women, among the men and women, the multitude, I perceive one picking me out by secret and divine signs, acknowledging none else, not parent, wife, husband, brother, child, any nearer than I am. Some are baffled, but that one is not. That one knows me. Ah, lover and perfect equal, I mean that you should discover me by faint indirections, and when I meet you, mean to discover you by the like in you. Okay, so when he says, ah, lover and perfect equal, he's making a sharp distinction between his image of male love and perhaps the hierarchical relationships which existed in the classical, in the ancient Greek and Roman worlds, right? You know, he's viewing here Eros as a meeting of equals, you know, and again, as presaged by Shakespeare in To the Marriage, Let Us Not to the Marriage of True Minds Admit Impediments. That was one of Shakespeare's fair youth sonnets. So what Shakespeare was envisioning there was a marriage of true minds was lovers as perfect equals, and he was not talking about the convention of heterosexual marriage in his time. He was envisioning something which was not bound by gender restrictions. Next poem, O you whom I often and silently come. O you whom I often and silently come, where you are that I may be with you, as I walk by your side or sit near or remain in the same room with you. Little you know the subtle electric fire that is for your sake playing within me. Next poem, That Shadow My Likeness. That shadow my likeness that goes to and fro seeking a livelihood, chattering, chaffering. How often I find myself standing and looking at it where it flits. How often I question and doubt whether that is really me. But among my lovers and caroling these songs, oh, I never doubt whether that is really me. And our final poem of this section, which we'll conclude with today, Full of Life Now. So now he's ending his journey. He began, this admonition, and now he's saying that he's affirming his mission is complete. Full of life now, compact, visible, I, 40 years old, the 83rd year of the States, to one a century hence, or any number of centuries hence, to you yet unborn, these, seeking you. When you read these, I, that was visible, am become invisible. Now it is you, compact, visible, realizing my poems, seeking me, fancying how happy you were if I could be with you and become your comrade. Be it as if I were with you. Be not too certain, but I am now with you. And so that is his envoi to the future. Yeah. Okay. So he's giving his mission to the future, and with that brings to an end to our Whitman birthday tribute. Again, our last episode, you can go back to our previous podcast in which I read the Children of Adam poems, and this, in which read Calamus. And for those who are everyone should be observing Walt Whitman's birthday, and for those of you who will be observing Pride Month, happy Pride Month, wherever you may be on this planet. We have pride in yourself, and don't be ashamed of who you are. Yes. Okay. So this has been Master Mu, aka Gregory Muna, signing off for this episode of Art is the Church of God the Creator. I think we'll start looking at a celebration of James Joyce for the upcoming Bloomsday celebrations for June 16th. But I want to talk more about the intersection of aesthetics and theology, and particularly in relation to music, and how we need to understand music as the expression of the primordial unity of the cosmos. Yes. Okay. Bye-bye for now.